like know who you're talking to, right? Like that has all aspects of everything involved. Like that is how you write copy. That is how you build out your colors and your fonts and your brand, who are you trying to talk to? Who are we marketing towards? And do they need what you offer?
Welcome to the Mompreneur Life Remix podcast, where you will learn how to remix your mompreneur life so that you can win at work without losing yourself in the process. Hi, my name is Martine Williams, and I am your host and CEO, your Chief Encouragement Officer. And this podcast is your one-stop shop to creating a burnout-proof life and business and elevating your clarity, confidence, and courage. Friends, it's time to say goodbye to being the yes girl and hello to creating healthy boundaries, healthy mindsets, and healthy habits. Your next breakthrough starts here. This is the Mompreneur Life Remix podcast. Let's do this. Hey, friends, and welcome back to the show. Today is Thursday, Podcast Thursday, and today we are talking with a website design specialist, Kelsey Romine. She was a teacher and then she turned mompreneur, and she specializes in WordPress websites for busy coaches and service providers. So Kelsey focuses on strategy first before implementing a design to ensure that the website is working for you and can be one of the best marketing tools for your business. So we talked all things some branding. We talked about website design. We talked about call to actions on your website. What are some ways to make the customer journey on your website like easy and simple for them to follow? So if you are in the market for maybe a website refresh, or you're just getting started and wanting to know what are some things you need to do to prepare and to launch a website, this is an episode for you. So let's dive right in. Well, hey, friends, and welcome back to the Mompreneur Life Remixed podcast. Today we have another turquoise talk guest, Kelsey. Is it Romine? I forgot to ask you
Romine,
before.
yeah.
Romine. Okay, good.
Yeah.
Good. I'm so excited to have you on today. So thank you for taking the time to come and talk with us today.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Excited to be here.
So tell us a little bit about you, kind of your background, your family, and how you became an entrepreneur, or why, most importantly, why did you decide to become an entrepreneur?
Yeah. So I was actually a teacher for 8 years, loved parts of it, didn't love everything. But what really made that change for me was I had my first baby.
Mm-hmm.
And going back to work after having him was really hard, really hard. I mean, like the first 2 days he was there, he had like RSV, and I was like, what is happening?
Wow.
And then you're out of all this leave that you like use for maternity leave. So I couldn't even stay home with him when he was sick. And that just every day was terrible dropping him off. Like I just didn't want to leave him. So I decided teaching's not going to support our new family and our lifestyle and what I want to be and how I want to show up as a mom. And so I decided to start freelancing. Kind of started with social media, Pinterest management. But once I built my website, I was like, this is where I belong. This is exactly what I love about being online and being in like the tech, but also in the creative space. So I started seeking out courses to help me learn how to do web design, and then just kind of like took off from there. And since then, I've had 2 more babies. So I now have 3 littles, 5 and under, at home with me most of the time. 2 of them go like preschool a couple of days a week, but mostly they're home almost all the time.
Yeah.
So I kind of just build my business around them and around their needs, but I still wanted something that was for me. Like I didn't want to just not do something for myself, So I love having a business to support what I want, I guess, in life too.
Yeah. I love that. And I just think it's really cool to see that women are starting to even more like just embrace that part of them. Yes, we're the care, we're the nurturers, we're the ones who take care of the kids. But for some of us, we do have just that drive and that passion to do something alongside of that. And I think the more it's on the rise, and I think it's becoming so much more accepted, and more women are wanting to do it. They just don't know how to do it. Right. Yeah. Or they're afraid of some of the bumps in the road. I mean, I'm sure there's been some bumps and some messy steps along along
Yep.
your journey to get to where you are today? You want to share just like one of those things you wish you would have known before you started?
You know, I think all of it had its place. I don't know that like I wish something wouldn't have happened, or if I had known about it, if I would have anticipated something that it would have went.
Hmm.
I think everything helped me grow and learn in some way, shape, or form,
Yeah.
that I'm thankful for every piece of it along the way,
Yeah.
really.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Hmm.
that's such a great mindset to have because I was just on doing a training the other night and I was telling you we either get the result we want or the lesson we needed. And if you can just kind of keep that
Exactly.
mindset, then, you don't see your setbacks as just a setback. You see it as a setup, for what's next. So,
Yeah. Yeah.
tell me a little about like, who are the clients that you like to work with when you're building out websites? Do you have a certain like group of people you like to work with or that you're working with now?
Yeah. I love working with moms and women who are service providers or coaches,
Okay.
specifically almost helping other moms. Like I just love the like mom and womanhood of like helping one another achieve more in
Hmm.
their businesses. So whether you provide a service, and that doesn't even necessarily have to be like an online service, it can be an in-person service.
Hmm.
Or if you're coaching other women or moms to do something with their business or with their life, things like that is where I really love to work, truly.
Yeah. So I just launched a website, my first website really over the
Yeah.
summer. And I've had landing pages like I've been with Kajabi for probably since they first started. I loved them just as a
Hmm.
one-stop shop for someone who was a solopreneur at the time, not
Yeah.
having someone to kind of help me do all of those things. But it's a process to build out a website. And I'm so thankful that there's people like you out there that love doing it because it makes me crazy on some days when I'm trying to
Yeah.
like something that I know I'm like, this would literally take someone 2 minutes to do and it's taking me 2 hours. And
Yep.
there's so
Yep.
many aspects of mompreneur life that we do that, and whether it's, maybe it's not in the budget for you right now to outsource that,
Mhm.
but usually the income is there. We're just afraid to invest. So do you run upon that with women as you're trying to help them build out their websites that they're just a little worried or that maybe they don't even see the importance of having a website?
Yeah, most people, I think those are the type of people that are kind of just following me for a little while. They're
Hmm.
kind of like, "Oh, I know I need this, but do I need it right now?" And I'm not going to say that people need a website right away. Like
Yeah.
you didn't have a website,
No, I
that's okay.
didn't.
Like you can get by absolutely, especially
Hmm.
depending on your business. Certain businesses might need one right away. Like brick and mortar businesses, I feel like maybe need
Right.
something.
Right.
But especially when you're on the online space,
Hmm.
you might not need it right away. And that's okay.
Hmm.
Like, wait until you feel like you are ready to take that next step. You are ready to invest, or whether that's money for somebody to do it for you or the time to learn it,
Right.
because it does take a lot of
Hmm.
time to learn all those things. So
Hmm.
you kind of have to decide what feels worth it right there. And just because you build your first website doesn't mean that has to be your last website. So even if you decide, okay, I'm going to invest some time in it right now and I'm going to do it like this way, but someday down the line, I'm going to invest in it financially and have someone do it differently and bigger and better or whatever. You just have to decide what's right for you in that moment of your
Yeah.
business. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Hmm.
And it's not set in stone. Like now that
Exactly.
it's, I've had the website for 6 months, there are definitely things on there that I'm like, oh, I should probably tweak this, or oh, I want to reword that, or I want to add this to it. Because as your business evolves and your brand evolves, it may be time
Mhm.
to make some of those changes. So I think the most important thing for someone, I think you would agree, is just get something out there. Whether
Yeah.
it's a landing page, a full-blown website. I'm working with a client right now. I'm like, you just need some place where people can go and get on your email list so that you can start serving
Yes.
them. So if
Yes.
that's just one
Hmm.
page of the website, like let's just start there. We don't have to
Yeah.
create the whole thing.
Right.
And so I think I know for me, a lot of times I want it all done and I want it
Yeah.
all perfect before I put
Yep.
it out there. But really,
Yep.
you're not helping anyone if you're not giving them the opportunity to come on and know about you,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. You can't hide. You have to put yourself out there a little bit. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, any little piece that you can like people can connect with you, like there's a space where people can connect with you is worth it.
Yeah,
Truly. It doesn't have to, nothing has to be perfect. We're
right.
all learning and growing together. Like it's going to be okay.
That's right. That's right.
Hmm.
And we're always our worst critic on things too,
Absolutely.
especially
Yep.
when it comes to design stuff. And you can literally tweak a website to death.
forever. And not even
Forever.
just the design, then you can tweak the copy forever.
Oh
Oh,
my
that image
goodness.
can change. Like it just goes on and on. At some point you got, just leave it,
Just
see how it works, and then
yeah.
come back to it if you need to. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Hmm.
So let's talk some specifics about the website. Like how do you make a website more visibly appealing to your target market? Like what are some tried and true things that you would advise
Yeah,
on?
yeah, absolutely. Big things I like to point out are design pieces. So I would keep like fonts to a minimum. We don't need 17 fonts on a website, like two or
Hmm.
three is good.
Yeah. Yeah.
And if you have like a really fancy, kind of harder to read font, like let's not do like a full paragraph in that font.
Yeah.
Let's keep it a short little simple heading or a little snippet of text.
Yep.
Same thing with colors. We don't need 100 colors on a website.
Hmm.
Like we just feel a little distracted then. Keep
Yeah.
it to like, I don't know, four, maybe five, keep it
Right.
simple. And like black text is just fine. We can use a black text. It's going to be okay. In general, like white space is not a bad thing, right? Like we don't need to fill every pocket of a website. Having
Yeah.
some breathing room around text, around images, between sections. Like if you're kind of scrolling through a website, we have different sections on a website. Give it some space so that when people
Hmm.
are scrolling, they're not like constantly reading. Like we all need to like take a breath when we're reading a
Have some
website.
margin. Yeah.
Have some margin, have some padding, however, have some space between the lines of text,
Yeah.
even like in the same paragraph, so that it doesn't feel so clustered and hard to read. Bullet point things instead of having like huge chunks of paragraphs all the time. Like any way you can break up content is good. You can even, if you have like a big wordy section, think about how you can space it out. Like, can I make this, one big paragraph? Can I make it three separate paragraphs? Or
Mm.
can you highlight a certain sentence in it in like a different decoration of some kind? Can you change it to a different font, a different color? Can you make it all caps? Can separate that out and make it a different spot, like have text and then have like a mini heading, if you will, that
Right.
has like a
Right.
different color or a different font or both that you're really trying to emphasize. Or even inside of a paragraph, is there some aspect that you want to emphasize that you can bold or something like that? But in general, just like keeping it short and to the point
Hmm.
is
Hmm.
helpful. Like we're moms and women and we're like busy and
Yeah.
we don't have like tons of time to be reading hundreds and hundreds of pages of text on a website. Like tell us who you serve, how can you
Right.
help us in a way that seems consumable, if that makes sense.
Yeah, totally. Because I know for me, like if I see long paragraphs, I'm like, oh, I'll get back to that. I'll read it later. Like I just
Exactly. And
don't,
then do you?
no, you don't. You
No.
don't. So I think that's
Yeah.
such a good call out. Even just changing from like a bold font, a regular font to a bold font or putting some
Hmm.
space in there. So people are like, okay, this is not like, an essay that I'm getting ready to read about this person. I can actually, consume it in bite-sized chunks.
Yeah. And even using images like to
Mm,
break up
yeah.
different spots on the website or different color backgrounds. Like if you have a white background on a section, make the next one a colorful background,
Mhm.
anything that makes it like, okay, this is a separate thought. Like it gives
Yeah.
us time to consume that easily.
Yeah. Yeah. I want
Yeah.
to back up a little bit because there may be someone who's listening, and I didn't ask you this from the get-go. Is there one website software that you recommend the most, one or two? So like I hear people using like Squarespace, GoDaddy, some of those places. I mentioned Kajabi, and I'll put a link in the notes for everyone to just check out Kajabi. I think I have a 14-day trial or something like that. Anyway,
Sure.
I chose Kajabi because I like went all in when I first launched my business. I launched a course. And so I had to have a
Hmm.
place that hosted the course. I wasn't really using it for website design. So if someone doesn't need all that necessarily, but they just want to just create a website, what's an easy one for someone who's going to be doing it on their own that you would recommend?
So there's a lot of different choices out there, obviously.
Yes.
And it almost depends on your business of which one
Okay.
I would suggest. But if you're a service provider or coach or something, and you're going to have like a blog eventually, I really like using WordPress for
Okay.
anybody that's going to have a blog just because it has such great SEO benefits. So if you're going to work with WordPress, which there's a lot of like YouTube tutorials out there for them too.
Hmm.
So it's really like it's not a new thing. There's so much information out there that I feel like it makes it easier to do yourself, at least initially, if you want to too. And there's so many templates and things that you can use. You can find a template that you'd like. If you do want to kind of build from a blank slate, which is what I do, page builders are really helpful. There's numerous ones of those out there. I personally like Elementor, but there's other choices if that one doesn't, sit well with you. In general, if you do not have a website yet, I would go and buy a domain because those can get snatched up and they're not expensive, but I would go buy your domain. It doesn't matter from where, if you want to buy it from Google or wherever.
Right.
And then with WordPress, you actually end up hosting your site through a host, and then you install WordPress that way. And for host, man, I just love SiteGround so much. I know there's better ones, but that's like a good starting one. That's not crazy expensive. I feel like that, in their customer service is wonderful. I just love them. There are more expensive, better options that, don't do all the same things that SiteGround do, but for what it is, it's really good. So
Okay. Well, good. We'll put a link to all those in the show notes so people can go and check those out. Hey friends, look, I'm so excited. I have a new resource for you. It's called Rev Up Your Dreams, and it's a guide for helping you to ignite your passion. So learn how to identify and fuel your deepest desires. It's going to help you craft your vision. It's going to help you overcome obstacles, because we know as mompreneurs, there are obstacles along the journey, and then some actionable steps for you to take. So you may have had a child who's like, but why, right? But why? You tell them something and they're like, but why? Maybe you were that child growing up and you just needed to get down to the root reason why. Like, it's just being curious. And I think we lose that simple curiosity in our mompreneur journeys. And so we have this disconnect between what our goals are and why we have them in the first place, why we became a mompreneur, why we're trying to hustle and create this life that we want for ourselves, for our families, for our community, the impact we're trying to have through our businesses. And so I want to help you connect the dots. And this guide is going to be a great resource for you. It's going to help you to rev up your dreams so that you can rev up your results. So you can grab it at martinewilliams.com/guide, GUIDE. We'll make sure we put the link in the show notes for you. But again, this is a great resource to help you to rev up your dreams. And you can go to martinewilliams.com/guide. So now let's think about call to actions. Like, I know this is so important on websites, kind of the thing that we talked about a lot as we were developing my website. And as I, I look at other people's websites and like just how clear that when they first land on the website, that first page, like what that call to action is. Can you talk a little bit about call to actions on the website and just really getting people to take action and not just read and scroll and then hop off? Like, what have you found have been most helpful? Is it just like a one sentence on the first banner and then a call to action, or what are you seeing that's working?
I like that, but I like offering it to them more than once also.
Okay.
So let's assume that the call to action is they're going to book a call with you, right? First of all, know what your call to action is. Like, what is the main thing that you want them to do on a site? That's first, because sometimes we're like, oh, I want them to do this or this or this or this. I'm like, no, what's the first thing that we want them to do? And what's the like goal here? So let's say it's book a call, because I know a lot of service providers and stuff do stuff like that. I would have it front and center on the website, like whether that's in the menu with like a button that like stands out, or like right on that homepage, right at the very top in that first section, like offer them that call to action. Ready to get started? Let's chat or something. And then it goes to the call link. But I would offer it more than once on the entire website, even on the homepage. If they're, you can talk about you a little bit, you can talk about your services, offer them another chance somewhere on that homepage to go to that call to action. And then if you're also leading them to other pages, right? Like, let's say there's like a little about page or about section on your homepage, and that leads them to an about me page. Offer them that call to action on that about me page also. If you're leading them to a services page or the coaching program, offer them that call to action again. Like it's almost like someone mentioned one time, it's like proposing, right? You're going to keep offering to propose to
Yeah.
them
Yeah.
this until
Yeah.
they're kind of ready to say yes. And some people do need to spend more time on the website, and that's okay, but that's why we keep
Mhm.
offering. But I would also make that call to action pop. I like it with a button. I like it with a different color. I like it for it to be like accented so it's super easy.
Mhm.
A great way to test this would be like show your website to a family member or a friend or something and see where it takes them, see how they navigate through the site, like kind of
Mhm.
use them as like a
Yeah.
test to see, are they drawn to that? Are they going to click it? Like where are they going through the website, if that makes sense? Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Hmm.
I love that. And I actually love getting your community involved in that. So you don't have to
Yeah.
wait for your website to be ready and done to start talking about it and start kind of building the anticipation around your website launching. And, being able to share some of the website pages and the call to action buttons and just, who is that it's in your community that you can ask their opinion. Cause then they get involved in the launch, when they're
Hmm.
kind of co-creators of what's going on. So you kind of give them the options that you like and then kind of let them pick. So I did that with my course launch, my podcast launch, and then with the website launch. So I think you don't have to be the only one figuring it out. And
Yeah,
it's your ideal clients that are going to give you the best market research about
absolutely.
what you're offering. So, and I think about it now, like my website, book a call is everywhere. It literally is everywhere.
And it seems like a lot. It
It
seems like a lot
does. It
when you think about it. But
does.
if someone's scrolling, especially if they're scrolling on mobile, right? If they're scrolling, if they don't
Yeah.
want to like scroll all the
Yeah.
way back to the top to like find where they're supposed to do that, like offer it to them more than once so that they
Yeah.
can
Yeah.
they can just
Yeah.
click right there and be like, okay, I've learned enough now. I'd like to move forward type of thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. It's definitely the number one call to action on my website. They can't even like go and buy directly. They have to get on that first
Hmm.
call. And I don't know if you
Yeah.
see that, if you've done that with other clients, and if you think that's the best strategy, or do you see you should have both options, someone that needs to book a call or that someone can go directly and purchase whatever the service is? What have you seen a gravitation towards one?
I think it depends on what you offer, right? If you have
Yeah.
like limited space, you want to make sure that person's the right fit
Yeah.
for you. Like as a service provider, I want to chat with somebody first
Hmm.
before we decide to work together. So I don't necessarily there's certain packages I kind of allow for that, but not like a full custom design
Hmm.
package. Like we're going to talk first to make sure we're both a
Yeah.
good fit and make sure
Yeah.
that like we're ready on both ends for that. If you have a coaching program, like you might have limited space. You might want to make sure that that person's a good fit for your program, because
Hmm.
it's better to like support each other, I feel like, than it is to just like collect everybody, if that makes sense.
Right.
Like we want to
Yeah.
make sure that we're supporting one another in what we're all doing. So I think it's totally fine to not have
Yeah.
a super direct way to purchase if it makes sense for your business. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I do have a tab that I put up every so often just with some exclusive offers that are just right
Yeah.
then they can buy. But
Yeah.
as far as one-on-one clients, they definitely like I do. I want to make sure I'm a fit for them and they're a fit for
Yeah.
what I
Hmm.
offer, because we've all spent money on things that weren't the right fit. And especially with website design, I will just say from experience working with someone, like it's important that you can tell them, I don't love that. Or like, can
Hmm.
you just have that natural connection to where you feel like you can be honest? And so I think if you don't have
Yeah.
that first call with them, then you might hire someone that's totally in left field from where the brand that you're trying to have them help you create on the website. So I
Yeah.
love that you
And
do that.
I think it protects both
Yeah,
people on
it
both
does.
sides, to making sure that they're not just spending money on something that's not gonna work for them in the end. So I
Yeah.
think whether it's a service or a program, it doesn't matter. Like making sure that it's a good fit for both sides is protecting
Yeah.
that person that's also spending the money to invest in something.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
So what is the user journey like? How can we create like just a really streamlined, friendly user experience on our websites? Are there some other things besides call to action and colors and fonts and all of those things? What else would you say
Yeah.
helps to kind of keep that customer journey easy and to get them to do the thing,
To
right?
do the thing.
Mm-hmm.
My biggest thing is keep the user journey short and purposeful,
Okay.
right? We want them to take that main call to action. We want them to book that call or to purchase that program. What's the shortest way we can get them there? And to me, that's they land on the homepage, they do that action, right? Like
Mm-hmm.
those are the people who are super motivated. If they're not ready for that, then they might go to your about page first, right? They want to learn more about you. They want to connect more with you. That's why we put that button there again, book a call, right? Now they might be ready. If we want them to learn more about the services, okay, we send them to the services page, great. Offer them to book that call again there. Like it's making sure that they don't have to keep clicking around on your website through a ton of different hoops to landing to work with you or to book a call with you or whatever. So we want to make that like journey to getting to that action point super short. And how can we make it as short as possible, especially like blogs or podcasts or, where you can like click through a lot of different pages. Can we offer them something on like the show notes page or the blog post page? Can we offer them to book a call or to check out our services or something, to get them to that next point again? Looking at your menu, we don't need 1,000 pages linked in the menu, right? Like what are the main pages we need linked in a menu? You can do more in the footer. You can put like more pages in the footer at the bottom of the page if you need more linked, or, link it somewhere else, right? If you want to send them to a landing page, that doesn't necessarily need to be linked in our menu. You can put that on social media or whatever to send them there, type of thing. So making sure your menu doesn't feel overwhelming to people so that they're like clicking through a whole bunch of things on your website to eventually get back to your call to action. We don't need all of that in the menu. Keep it simple, keep it purposeful.
Yeah.
Just making sure that like I would almost write out the process to working with you too. Like what, after I book this call, then what happens, so that they know what to expect from working with you, right? It's laying things out in a way that makes sense, that's quick, because we don't have a ton of time in the world. So we want them to take that first action of book that call, but we also want them to know what comes next. So somewhere, tell them the process to working with you. What are the next steps? What can they expect? That type of thing.
Yeah.
Are all good points to have for your user journey on the website. Yeah.
I was just thinking about my podcast page. If we have on there to book a call, I think that might be the one page we don't have to book a call.
Are they in the show notes? Like when you
in my show notes on the actual they are, but on I'm thinking like the podcast page where they can actually go and listen to recordings. And also when I tell people to listen to the show, I send them directly to Apple. I should send them directly to the website to listen to it on the website, probably, because you can track that. I mean, you can track the Apple too, but I don't know. That just thought came to my mind as you were talking. Like, I probably need to go check that page and to see if I have that call to action on the podcast page. I mean, I do want them to listen to the podcast, but when they're done, if they want to come in, book the call. But yes, it's definitely in the show notes. It's everywhere, I feel like.
Yeah.
It really is, which is good. I mean, for the person who sees it all the time, it's kind of like, oh my gosh, here it is again. But to the first person that's coming to your website, again, you want it to be, I think, consistent. Okay, this is clearly the call to action that she wants me to do on this website is to book the call, right, with her. So,
well, and that's important. Like, we don't want people confused, right? Yeah, I should have booked a call, but now I should go do that. Like, staying consistent is so good. It's so good. Yeah. And the other thing I would say is if you have like an outbound link, like let's say like to book a call takes them to something else to actually book that call, like an outside link, open that in a new tab. Make sure that when they click that button, it opens in a new tab so that your website is still showing up in their browser is another good point too.
Now, how do you do that? If the link's there, won't it just naturally do that?
Not always. It depends on how it's set up.
Okay.
But like if you click a button, then you can set it to open in a new tab instead of in the same window, because we want them to be able to navigate back to you
back and
easily.
forth. Right. Okay. Yeah. That's interesting. What about like pop-ups or, like having them opt into whatever your freebie is on the website? Like I see it placed different places. I see some websites have the pop-ups. Some of them don't. I'm not a personal fan of pop-ups when I go to a website because I'm like, oh, but then it's like, but it does get my attention. So I can see both sides of it. Is it just a personal preference, or like I did move my opt-in was at the bottom of the first page. And I was talking with a friend who's a brand guy, and he was like, that needs to be up top. Like you need to move that up because if it's below the fold, they say they're not, you want your call to actions above the fold. So I did move it up, and I have had more opt-ins, but what's your take on that? The pop-ups and all the opt-ins and where they're placed.
Yeah. Again, I'm going to say it depends on your goal, right? So if your goal is to get email subscribers, then you would want to move that up. if your goal is, oh, that's like a lesser one of my goals because I'm not going to write an email anyway, then
Yeah.
it's fine at the bottom of the page. Or, if you don't send out that much in general, like it's quarterly or something, like you can promote it in different ways, I feel like, than just on your website. Pop-ups, they kind of drive me crazy. I think sometimes one is fine, but sometimes like it pops up more than one and you have to like keep closing them, or they like move funny on
Yes.
mobile or something. And it's
Yes.
like, how do I close this? And I think you have to be really intentional about
Hmm.
pop-ups if you're going to use them. I personally, the ones like that kind of like slide in from like the bottom corner that don't take up the whole screen, those don't
Yeah.
bother me as much as like the ones that just like
Hmm.
stop my scroll right away,
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
I'm like,
Yeah.
I wanted to go learn more about this. And I feel
I
like
wanted to
I
finish
can't get
reading
out of
that
here.
paragraph. I wanted to finish reading that paragraph.
Yeah,
And that
I think they
pop-up
have a
comes
place.
up.
I think they have a place, but I think don't just do it because everybody's doing it. I think
Yeah.
if you have a point for it, then that's fine. And I also think that you can easily put something as like at the very top of the page. Like everybody has like a nice little banner. Sometimes if you want to promote something at the very
Hmm.
top of the page, that's another place you could do something like that.
Yeah.
It just
Yeah.
depends on your goals and what's the point of the pop-up, really.
Right, right.
Yeah.
And I would really suggest for people, this is what I did when I first started, like just go visiting people's websites. What are the things
Hmm.
that you love about them? What are the things you don't like about them? Because you're going
Yeah.
to attract people that like similar things that you do to your brand and to your
Hmm.
company and to your product. So if the pop-up drives you crazy, don't put it on your own website.
Exactly,
You
exactly. Don't do it to them. Now,
know?
I will say I do like a pop-up if it offers me a coupon. Like if I
Okay.
am like
Mm-hmm.
shopping on someone's website and it's like, oh, here's 10% off. I was like, well, absolutely. Sign me, but to
Yeah.
just like tell me information, I'm like, could I find this somewhere? It just
Yeah.
depends on what
Yeah.
the point of it is. But
Yeah.
absolutely find what you like, what you don't like by just navigating through other people's websites. Yeah.
Yeah. Same thing with opt-ins. Like I have a whole folder that I
Hmm.
save from things I've opted into, the things I liked. So
Yeah.
I can go back and look, okay, oh, I really liked how they did that. That's what I want to
Hmm.
do on my website, or that's what I want to do in my next, free offer that I do. So
Yeah.
there's so much content and ways for you to get inspired out there with your own websites and your freebies. Just start paying attention when you're
Hmm.
opting in. What are the things that you're like, oh my gosh, like I'm at my email waiting for this thing to land in my inbox? And what are the things that you're like, yeah, kind of forgot about that?
Yeah.
Because that'll just help you to create the experience that you want your customers to have. And I love that you said test it with some of your friends and family and
Yeah.
your close circle, because they'll hopefully the goal would be to give you some real constructive feedback, and
Right.
for you to be able to make improvements. So well, as we wrap up, is there anything that, like, what would be the number one if someone's listening right now and they're like, I think I'm ready for a website. What would you say they need to do first? You mentioned
First,
buy the domain, which they are not expensive. So y'all don't get all, they are not expensive. That was one of the
they're
first
not.
things I did was go buy martinewilliams.com. It's not a very common name, but it was common on Instagram. Like I don't have that handle. I have Martine 31
Exactly.
Williams. So like you
Exactly.
like go if you think you're going to have it or need it for anything. I bought like 10
Hmm.
domains in one day because I just started grabbing
Yeah.
them up. But
Yeah.
sorry, I kind of diverted us from the question,
No,
but
that's okay. I don't know about a first thing. Maybe even before touching a website, like really think about what you want, what you want people to know about you, what you
yeah.
want, like think about the content you're going to put out there, right? Like, how do
Hmm.
you want people to feel when they come to your website? Because that can impact fonts and colors, and that can impact your branding in a general sense. So, is your branding set, how do you want to tell your story? So, that's like the copy aspect of it. Like, all of that kind of gets played in to design,
Hmm.
but like that stuff kind of comes first. We have to like
Yeah. Yeah.
set the mood before we
Yeah.
can
Yeah.
actually design around it. And honestly, like when I design a website, because I do it from scratch, I do a blank slate. Like sometimes I just kind of like sketch it out on paper. Like it does
Hmm.
not need to be fancy. We don't need to do all this fancy stuff if you're just kind of getting started. So to like point out like the pieces of your website that you know you want to have. Like what do you want the top to say?
Hmm.
And where do you want it to lead from there? Do you want to tell them about you? Do you want to tell them about your services? Do you want, how do you want your website to flow?
Mm-hmm.
And like a web designer can help you with those things, or at least I do. But if you have important points and you were trying to do this yourself, then like I would kind of map that out before even trying to get in the back end of the website, because it's going to be easier for you to see it on paper than it is when you start building, type of thing. And if you see a template you like, you can do that and you can use that instead. So I'm not sure I gave you one thing, but there's like a lot of different things.
There's some pre-work. There's for sure some pre-work. I mean, if I wouldn't have done the pre-work on the brand, like I had a sample of like building your brand out that I'd gotten from a course years ago. And I'd had it saved, because at that time, again, that wasn't my number one thing, was building a website. So I had this whole thing to kind of prompt me with questions and kind of pull things out of me. And that's what I gave the website designer when we started. Exactly. And that would have been so hard for her to help me if she didn't have that information, and it would have made it go even longer because you're still figuring out the brand. So I definitely think that's a great point. Like there is some pre-work for you to do before you come to someone and before you invest your money into someone who you don't even know what your brand's going to be. And we did have to build some things because I was still kind of building the brand. We built the website. I was evolving it and changing it a little bit. So there was some of that, and y'all were so helpful in that. But that's a really good point, to have some of that work done. And honestly, even before that, like, is it a proven concept? Like, do you need a website if it's not proven that it's something that people want to buy from you? That's another thing, is we spend a lot of time and money on a website when you haven't proven that it's something the market wants. So how can you like beta test your offer, beta test your services with a small group of people to make sure, hey, this is something I need that's going to be, that people are interested in, that I need to build a website around. Those are great points. Yeah.
Well, and like, I almost want to say maybe my one thing is like, know who you're talking to, right? Like that has all aspects of everything involved. Like that is how you write copy. That is how you build out your colors and your fonts and your brand, Yeah. I'm going to ask you that when I build your website, like, who are you trying to talk to? Who are we marketing towards? And do they need what you offer? Yeah.
Love that. Well, this was fun. We could keep talking about it. The website, probably for hours. There's so much things we could talk about, but where is the best place for them to connect with you if they want to just kind of see what services you offer? Or they're like, yep, I want to do this, but I want to do it by myself.
Yeah. Easiest places for me are either my website or Instagram. Website is kelseyromine.com. Buy your domain, right? We need our domain. And then Instagram is kelsey.m.romine, because of course Instagram didn't have Kelsey Romine. If we've learned nothing, let's go buy domains, everyone.
That's right. For anything and everything you could think of, they're not expensive. So just go ahead and
buy
them.
They're really not.
Yeah. Well, awesome. Well, we'll put those in the show notes for everyone. Thank you so much for coming on to talk about this. Again, we could talk hours about it, but I think it really gave them some helpful things to think about, and the main things to think about when you're building out your website. So thanks so much for coming on.
Yeah. Thanks for having me.
All right, friends, we'll catch you on the next episode. Well, that's a wrap, friends. Thank you for tuning in to today's episode. I really hope it met you right where you are and gave you some encouragement for your day. Could you do me the biggest favor and leave me a rating and review? Seriously, it's the best way for you to support the show. And while you're there, be sure to follow the show so you never miss an episode. Thanks again. And until next time, I am believing in you always.